Good morning. Welcome to the second installment of Thoughts from Isolation. We hope these additional spiritual thoughts are encouraging to you during your time in isolation. As time wears on, it gets harder and harder to keep ourselves focused, perhaps, and it is my desire and Grady's desire that these additional thoughts will be helpful to you. Grady published his first one. He's calling it Anytime Devotions yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, please do. And we'll try to do this on a semi-regular basis. It won't be on a fixed time scale where it comes out at a certain time on a certain day. But as we have thoughts we want to share with you, we'll try to do that, and we'll try to send you an email when we post a new one so that you can check that out at your convenience on our church YouTube channel, which of course you can access through our website, or just go straight to YouTube and search for Pikes Peak Church of Christ. Again, we hope these are encouraging to you in between our regular Sunday and Wednesday meeting times. And this morning I want to tell you a story. And it's a true story. A few days ago, one of those really nice warm spring days before winter returned to Colorado Springs, Kelly and I decided to take a walk, get out of the house, soak up some sunshine and the vitamin D that goes with it. And so we were walking on Pikes Peak Avenue towards downtown. And as we passed 7th Street, we noticed a mom and dad and some kids coming in the opposite direction. They were out probably doing the same thing we were doing, enjoying the out of doors. And so we decided, well, to practice social distancing, there was an alleyway nearby, and so we took a left turn, went north in that alleyway, and got up to Bijou Street. And from there, we were looking at each other, trying to decide, well, which way do we go? And we decided, well, let's go up toward the Pinery. That's that big event center that sits on top of that hill, prominently visible from a long way away in Colorado Springs. We hadn't walked by there in a while, so we decided just to see if they'd made any changes or improvements to the facility. And so we walked up that way. As we got past the Pinery, we started down the hill on the other side, and I looked over to the left and I commented to Kelly, that looks like our trailer. And upon closer look, it was our trailer. Kelly's dad, when he got to the point where he could no longer do outside work, no longer do the things he had always wanted to do, gave us that trailer. For those of you old enough to remember, it's a Montgomery Ward trailer, or at least the frame is, and you added the wood and things to make it a complete trailer. And we've used that over and over again for so many different things. It's been a blessing to us. But there was our trailer. It was easy to identify because of the tag number, obviously, and because it looked just like our trailer. And the clinching point was, thanks to our brother Dave Derryberry, who borrowed it to go rafting one time, he welded a round piece of pipe underneath the tongue to give it additional security when he chained it up while he was on the river. So without a doubt, this was our trailer, parked 6 blocks from where it was supposed to be. Well, we were shocked. What was our trailer doing 6 blocks from our house? Well, the obvious answer, it'd been stolen. So we hoofed it home. I put the receiver and my hitch on my Xterra, drove back, and the trailer was still there. I hooked it up and I brought it home, and we locked it up safely in our garage. Now, I normally keep that trailer attached to the outside of my garage in the alleyway. I made a pulley where I could attach that to the tongue and pull it up so the trailer stood vertically against the side of the garage. Put a large chain through the wheels and around the axle with locks on either end to discourage, someone from stealing it. And you know, that worked for 12 years. We found the locks on the ground. Both had been cut with bolt cutters. And the funny thing, or the sad thing, however you look at it, neither one of us noticed that the trailer was missing. So, what made us take that walk that day? What made that other family take their walk at that time on that day that altered our course, which made us walk up by the Pinery and walk over and see our stolen trailer sitting there beside the road? Well, some would say it's a miracle. Some would say, well, no, it's God's providence. And others would say, it's just really dumb luck. And that got me to thinking. But before I tell you what I was thinking, let me tell you another story. And this story came from earlier in that same day. As you know, we have a large fish pond in our backyard. One of the joys of owning a fish pond is that every spring you have to clean it out. All the leaves and debris and fish byproducts and moss and algae, and it's just a nasty mess. But In order to do that, we have to take the fish out. So we fashion a trash can, fill it with some of the pond water. We have an aerator that we put in there so they have plenty of oxygen for the day or the day and a half, sometimes 2 days they have to be out of the pond in order for us to clean it, to refill it, and to allow the chemicals from the city water to evaporate off before we can safely put them back in the water. That morning, Kelly had decided to go out and check on those fish and make sure they were doing okay. And when she got out there, there was our koi laying on the ground beside the trash can. He or she was gasping for air, so Kelly grabbed the fish, put it back in the water, and he or she is still alive today. That picture you're seeing on your screen I took just yesterday afternoon. Again, miracle, providence, or just dumb luck. When you think about it, there are thousands, if not millions, of variables that play into those circumstances. Why we walked, why the other family walked, why we decided to go by the pinery, why Kelly decided to go out and check on that fish at that point in time, in that small window of opportunity to save he or she or whatever it is. And I'm not even going to try to explain any of those, mainly because I can't. But I do know that we can talk about our response to those amazing events. Now, those two were positive. They were amazing. So that's easy, isn't it? What about negative things? One of our first documented COVID-19 cases here in Colorado Springs came from a local bridge club here in town. Someone went to play bridge with their friends, not knowing they were infected. And sadly, someone from that club ended up dying as a result of the COVID-19 virus. Or the person or persons who unknowingly perhaps brought a version of that COVID-19 into a nursing home. And we've had several outbreaks in facilities like that. Again, thousands and millions of variables, but in that case, the outcome wasn't good. So what are my thoughts on the matter? What should our thoughts be? Well, let's go to Scripture. James chapter 1, verses 17 and 18. Whatever is good and perfect is a gift come down to us from God our Father, who created all the lights of the heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. He chose to give birth to us by giving us His true word. And we, out of all creation, became His prized possessions. Again, James 1, verses 17 and 18, and that's out of the New Living Translation. Good things come from God. James says that without any hesitation whatsoever. Well, where do bad things come from? Well, maybe here's some insight. We back up a few verses to James 1, beginning in verse 12. God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love Him. And remember, when you're being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and He never tempts anyone else. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. So don't be misled, my dear brothers and sisters. Almost sounds like some people were saying, well, God's the source of bad things. And James admonishes his readers, do not be deceived. COVID-19 happened. Bad things happen. So what should our attitude be when those bad things happen and when those good things happen? Well, Romans chapter 8 and verse 28, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose for them. Notice the wording there. God causes everything to work together for good. Everything? Does that mean good and bad? Well, everything includes everything, so I would guess that it would include both good and bad. God uses the good and God uses the bad to achieve His final purpose. But notice that He does it for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Where would we rather be? Loving God, belonging to God, answering His call, or denying God and living with that dumb, random, fickle luck, as the world calls it. Jesus said, here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. We have our trailer back. Our fish is alive. And that one's easy. Thank God for all of the wonderful things He does for us, even if I don't understand how all of that transpired. It's much harder and more frustrating to have a positive attitude about the bad things in our life. But in my mind, and hopefully in yours, the choice is obvious. That we remember that God is a source of good and that He will somehow, some way, beyond my comprehension, make good come from the things that we're experiencing today. In closing, let's read again Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26, and then immediately following that, we'll listen to the hymn that was penned from these very words. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace.